It's very quiet. It's very quiet here, which I think is perfect for the kind of mood that I wanna have with stream today. I just want to relax a little bit. Are we? Hello, YouTube. Are we going? I feel like you're going. Okay, we're good. Hey, it's me. I'm the guy playing the game. I use the buttons again. Woo, just making sure that everything's actually going. It's not stuck on a still frame. Woo. So yeah, you may be wondering, for those of you who were attentive to the last stream, you may be wondering where that poll was that was supposed to vote on this sort of thing. I ultimately decided it probably was best that I didn't do that. And here's why. I wanted just to have a week where I just relax a little bit for stream. I knew for a fact that as fun as some parts of Pac-Man World 2 Repack can be, it has also made me pretty angry. Similarly so to stuff like Master King Coco, who I keep bringing up as one of the worst times I've had streaming a video game. And, if the day comes that we go back to Pac-Man, I will properly do the spooky fight at some point. I won't use the fairy mode. I still think that fight is dog shit, but, you know, it could just be a skill issue. I don't know. Just me being automatically frustrated with it. Maybe probably didn't help much. That very stream I was talking about how, like, you should take a break and come back later. But I was just dead set on finishing that game that night because all that was left was spooky. All that was left was the final boss, and we just, like, roughly hit 2 hours. And, like, the final boss shouldn't take more than, like, half an hour. We're fine. That stream went for an extra hour. And honestly, I think I might have been a little harsh. A little bit of misjudgment in my overall mood during that whole thing. I probably should just stop for the night anyway. But if we ever do go back to Pac-Man, I will do the fight again. Probably not right away. I gotta get my bearings back with Pac-Man's control. At the very least, I do want to go back and get more of the missions done. And we still have the post-game campaign. Yippee. But either way, what's really important here is I just want a thing to kind of just take my mind off of it and just relax for a bit. And there are a lot of points where I want to talk about things during Pac-Man that I actively couldn't because I had to stop and focus on the game for a bit because I would play even worse if I just tried talking about random stuff like the Mario Galaxy movie and whatnot. So I ultimately decided to just focus on the game. So a lot of times where I wanted to bring up something, I just, I did for like a couple minutes and then never brought it up again. Streams like this are built more for actually doing proper discussion. So, if we want to have proper discussions about things, Dudunsparce is the way to go. And I don't know how long we're going to have Dudunsparce around for this sort of thing, but I think it's fair that we do Dudunsparce a little bit more frequently. Because we've only done one Dudunsparce stream so far this year, and that was on Friday the 13th. I think last month. I thought we did one at least some point prior, but we were playing Pikmin 4 and a little bit of Legends ZA post-game for that. So, we haven't really had the time to. But since the main story of Pac-Man's all wrapped up, and I want to take a break from that game for a certain amount of time, I just found it best to just stop for a second, do this. So today, and probably tomorrow as well, we'll do Dudunsparce, as much as the Friday stream's probably gonna suck as a result. But this will just be kind of like a little breather. A little bit of a breather before we do anything else. I promise you I will have a poll up this weekend to determine what I stream next. Whether it be more of this, because, casual discussion streams are fun, I suppose. Go back to Pac-Man and inevitably stress me out trying to 100% the game. or go on to something new, which I believe, if I remember correctly, I mentioned Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, which I still have not played. So we could play that. I could go for a little Donkey Kong. I've actually been playing through Donkey Kong 64 in my own time. Because I want to try doing that for Archipelago at some point. And I kind of got in the mood for it because I rewatched some old Varg Skeletor streams of it, where there was original Hardcore Friday where he kind of speedran the game, and then there was the actual like proper playthrough a few years later. I watched those and it seemed like fun, so I figured I'd play it. And overall, it's a fun time. I can't remember how I made this sandwich. It's hamburger, need tomatoes on it. Wait, tomatoes, tomato. Onion, and then 2 tofus, I believe. And then I don't think it really matters much as long as I don't do 2 sours together. I think that causes problems. I'm gonna go 2 bitters because I'm still a little bitter over what happened with Pac-Man. Okay. So this'll honestly probably be the best stream to do little discussion stuff and kind of catch up on things I want to discuss before. Problem is, a lot of the discussions are either not relevant anymore or I've completely forgotten them. So, yeah. I am hoping we see Vix at some point. Because, I feel like having someone to kind of, have an extended conversation with in this regard would actually make it a lot more bearable and less stupid. Because some of these Dudunsparce streams, when no one's around, kind of get incredibly stupid, and I understand that. It always falls back on the same discussions. How do people do shiny hunting for a living? How did they not freaking get tired out and all that. We talk about this every Dudunsparce stream. I want to avoid that as much as possible. I want to avoid that with every fiber of my being, because this is not really the thing I should be doing. If I want to be a quality streamer and make these streams worth it, I gotta add something new and fresh. That's why I still have the Skeletors that I use for taking on the Empoleon. Because yes, I did do the Empoleon Terror Raid when it reran. So now I have every Mightiest Mark. The only one I didn't personally catch would be Garchomp, because I didn't even know that one was going on and I missed it. But right after that ended, I was able to get one in Pokemon Home. So I still have it. It's sitting in the box in case they ever do rerun it, which is probably pretty unlikely. But other than that, I have every other Mightiest Mark, except for, I guess, the evolved Pikachu and Eevee lines, because you can evolve them. But I'm not gonna. People probably have, but I'm not gonna, personally. So I guess it's not technically all of them, but, you know. All of the ones they actually gave out during these special events. I don't know if I'll necessarily keep up with them as much for Generation 10. Especially if I still haven't switched 2 yet. But, you know, let it be known that... Am I losing my mind? What the hell? That's the first encounter of the day, is a Girafarig. Okay, bonus shiny! Yay! I think I have a shiny Girafarig already too, but that's really funny. Like, I look over, I'm kind of going past it, I'm like, wait a minute. Does that look a little off? And lo and behold, that is indeed a shiny. It has the blue nose. I put the sandwich on, I go down here, and the first thing I see is a shiny Girafarig. Holy crap. Repeat ball check should be pretty okay, actually. I don't want to try to weaken it, because both the Pokemon I currently have in my party are level 100, so they'd one-shot this thing. So I don't want to risk that. I don't think we're technically in the cave part yet, so I don't think I can use the Dusk Balls on it. I just gotta use Ultras and hope for the best. I don't remember the catcher on Girafarig. This was not what I was expecting. I guess this was bound to happen eventually, right? Just the fact that we passed by like a dozen Girafarig before we actually get to the Dudunsparce section. It was bound to happen with how long this has been going that we'd actually see a shiny one, but I didn't think we'd start with one. I didn't think we'd start the stream with one today. I'm not counting this towards Dudunsparce, obviously. This is a bonus. It's like when we were doing Indigo Disc and we were doing the Revisit Area Zero for the Tropico stuff. And I was talking about, like, it's kind of weird that outside of the Sandshrew I purposely went out of my way for, we haven't really seen any shinies. And then an Iron Hand spawns right in front of my face. It's like, okay, cool. Cool. Ugh. Apparently the catch rate on Girafarig is incredibly low. I really think I would have caught it by now. Had easier luck catching legendaries, I think. I probably should have used the quick ball immediately. That would have fit the color scheme well enough anyway, but I was just lapsing judgment. I think timer balls are good enough now. With how awkward some of the animations are, I can tell when I've actually caught something way before I actually catch it. Because all successful catches on things you already have in your Pokedex are crit catches. At least they visibly... There we go, got it. They visibly show up as such. And every crit catch, the throw arc gets a little bit messed up when the throw starts. So you can tell you caught something just by seeing your throw arc be a little bit wonky. So cool! Bonus Girafarig. Nice. Good thing I stopped to check, like, wait a minute. What? It was bound to happen, because I'm looking at it, I'm like, is that the shadows messing with me? But no, that wasn't... What is happening?! We just got a Girafarig, and now we have a Dudunsparce! What? Okay, you know what? Whatever! I don't know what's happening anymore. This will be a relaxing stream where I get to talk about all the things I wanted to during Pac-Man. Here's 2 shinies in the first, like, 10 minutes. Actually doing a shiny hunting. Like, okay, buddy. That's how we're starting? We're starting with the wildest beginning to any Dudunsparce stream I've ever done? You're kidding? You kidding me? A shiny Girafarig right at the gate, and then as soon as we get in the cave, a shiny Dudunsparce spawns. If that ends up being the 3 segment, I am going to scream. If that ends up being the 3 segment, I am going to scream. Because that would be the funniest way for this to end. Legitimately the funniest. You know, part of me, speaking of that, part of me actually wanted to have this week have sort of like related thumbnails for the 2 streams, because I do want to do this tomorrow as well. Where it's the lemon meme, where it's like, lemon, and they eat the lemon, and then they go like, I wanted to kind of do something like that originally, for the thumbnails, but I'm like, if this would happen to end during the first stream, I wouldn't be able to properly use that punchline. So having Dudunsparce streams where I have... Oh my god, the shiny luck today is insane! Okay then! But, if we were to finish this tonight, I wouldn't be able to use the actual punchline to the joke. I wanted the joke to have something to do with the color yellow, because we're moving from Pac-Man to Dudunsparce. So the original idea for the joke would be that we're going from a yellow thing to another yellow thing. What's the funny, meme yellow thing? Oh yeah, that lemon meme from a few years back. With, like, the Discord emotes. Yeah, I decided against it just for the sake of, like, just in case this somehow finishes up, which is unlikely, but possible. So, you know, keep that in mind. But I still want to acknowledge the fact that we're moving from one yellow thing to another yellow thing, so I vaguely acknowledged Pac-Man in the thumbnail. It's like, oh look, another yellow thing. I figured that'd be funny enough, you know. Of course, I still use the same editing file I did for the last stream, so I just had the non-shiny Dudunsparce image loaded up. I probably should have gone for the shiny one instead, or tried to edit it to look shiny, which, you know, I'm not exactly the best with color replace tools, so probably wouldn't have looked great, but when do any of my thumbnails actually look good? I usually try to get, like, transparent renders for stuff for my thumbnails, and I add a border to it to make it pop out a little bit. But sometimes, like, it's not even fake transparency. There's, like, compression particles that are generally invisible, but they're still there, that fuck up the outline tool. So everything is filled in a little box that's, that the render resides in, like with Spooky. So I had to kind of, like manually erase shit from the outline to actually make it an actual outline. But then it looks really bad because I can't get it consistent because I don't use a stylus or anything. I use a fucking mouse. So it looks really bad. To be fair, though, I think the kind of, like, mismatched width of it and the fact that it kind of leans into the more ghostly nature, I suppose, does kind of fit with how that stream ultimately went. But, you know. I think it was more coincidence than anything else. I've had to do that a couple times now for some of these transparent renders for thumbnails, because I just look up the renders on Google and such for them. And a lot of times they source it from fan wikis that don't do the best job of putting the renders up, because they either compress it down to a small size for, like, previews, or, again, like the invisible transparency pixels that ruin the outline tool. I've had them mess with that a couple times. I'm wondering if maybe it's like that to kind of mess with AI stuff, because there are a lot of wiki pages that often get used as training material. So I understand why it's like that, but it also messes up my workflow. It's not really workflow. I'm doing this for fun. This ain't a job. I know I have like a strict schedule I follow, so it feels like a job to some extent, but it's just me playing video games on the internet. I'm not doing this for any sort of, like, I'm not doing this for a job. I'm just doing this because I want to. It's fun. I get to connect with people online about the stuff I like to play and, you know, try to have fun. And then everyone can laugh at my frustration when the game decides to spit in my face a little. You know? This is just meant to be fun. It's recreation. It's a hobby. It's a hobby. It's all it's ever gonna be. And I'm perfectly okay with that. And I guess it's mainly why I don't really give... Like, I don't care too much about making, like, really good-looking thumbnails. I try to make, like, passable ones. Because, like, I'm not trying to get a lot of people's attention for the sake of monetizing anything. Because that's not happening, I can assure you. This is just a hobby. I'm doing this for fun. So, you know. I don't even necessarily want, like, a super huge audience, because, like, super huge audiences, from what I noticed, they can't really connect with the community very well during, like, live streams and whatnot, because they get so many messages at once, they just can't keep up. And I don't know, like, I feel like you lose a little bit of that, like, that streamer to viewer connection a bit when a stream gets so big and everyone's all chatting at once, because it kind of turns from like a sort of like group stash where you're like playing games on the couch to like a huge auditorium and like all of the voices start to blend together and you can't really make any particular comment out at once, and it's like it's a muddy mess. And you know, it's a bit different for like comment sections on videos because you can read the comments at your own pace and they all show up in your feed and whatnot. But like a live stream like this, having a large audience can be kind of a downfall if you're trying to go for a user interactivity. It's a bit of a double-edged sword. So honestly, I'm perfectly fine with just having a smaller stream where it's like a couple of people. I get my usuals that would show up, and you know, a couple surprises every now and again. People be like, "Hi, you're playing a game I like." Welcome to the internet. It's fun, you know. And the community becomes like a smaller, more tight-knit thing. I don't know. It just has a different vibe to it, you know? And I kind of like it like that, you know? It's just kind of a small thing. So I'm not trying to get a huge audience or anything. I just want to have fun, and if a couple people want to show up and hang out, it's also cool. Besides, I'm not really the best with large groups anyway, so it's like even getting in Discord calls with like a few random people playing Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, in like Fidel's Discord, where there's like a half dozen of us, it can still feel a little awkward for me. I'm not exactly the best, that sort of thing. But, you know, like one or two people, like, you know, close friends, or like Wanye's community, like a small little community like that. Maybe I'm not interacting with literally everyone on a mic the entire time. Yeah. It just feels a little different. Speaking of Wanye, you may remember back during Pac-Man I mentioned that I was doing speedruns of Wanye's game Super Nutelio 67. And I mentioned how I thought Neil was on this whole other level. Neil Legend is a full username. I thought he was on a whole nother level, and I was never gonna get world record. I was getting so frustrated at points. So frustrated at points. Turned the game off, and then I come back to it just for the heck of it, and then it goes really well, and I get a PB and everything by like a solid 7 seconds and everything. Little update to that story. I have effectively copied Neil's route. I go in a slightly different order because there are some little bits of tech in that speedrun that I'm not exactly the greatest at. But I think I go in a little bit of a different order than he does. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I am currently, as of like 4 days ago, the world record holder in Super Nutelio 67 by like 4 seconds, and I could realistically save another 10. So I hit my goal of actually getting the world record, mainly because I cut out a major source of time loss with a thwomp cycle. I think we just call him the thwamp cycle because it's a Wanye pun. There's one in it. It's a thwomp because the whole game is sort of like a sort of fusion between Mario 64 and Ratatouille for PC. Because you know, Wanye community lore and whatnot. There's also a little bit of Banjo-Kazooie in there for good measure because, you know, Wanye played Banjo-Kazooie on stream. He had a good time with it. Those streams were fun. But, a couple of the stars in that game, you use the... So one of the levels in the game is basically Whomp's Fortress. And you can use the thwomp to gain extra momentum with your vertical jump, because the vertical momentum of the thwomp itself actually adds to your jump momentum. So as long as moving upwards, if you jump, you actually go way higher. Another game I always think of when I bring up this comparison is Yoshi's Island, where the moving platforms also do a very similar thing with your jump momentum and jump height in that game. But that game's 2D, so it doesn't really work exactly the same. But long story short, if you're able to get to the thwomp before it goes up the first time, because when you spawn it goes down, right? It spawns in the air and goes down. If you can get up to it and jump onto it before it rises up the first time, you don't have to sit there for 8 full seconds waiting for it to come back down and then start rising again. So for every cycle you miss of that, you're adding an extra 8 seconds. So from just saving 16 total seconds from getting the one cycle twice and just having more optimal movement than Neil did in his world record, I was able to beat the world record by a few seconds. And as of now, it hasn't been contested yet, but I fully expect Neil Legend or Splusboy to come back and take the record from me. I'm surprised it's taken this long. I don't feel like my run was perfect or anything, but I was kind of surprised because my goal was to get like a sub 8:10, because the world record at that point was a 7:59. I didn't think I was gonna beat the record that soon, and I had a really tough time getting out of the first half of the run because I failed the mountain skip because I just couldn't get the precise platforming. There's one point we had to move around blind for a little bit because you can move while the star is spawning in using a bit of like a pause glitch, and I can't see anything when trying to move towards the star, and you know I have to play a little bit safe, but I could probably see a couple seconds from that alone. But you know, long story short, it was not the best run, and I was struggling a lot to get out of the first half. But then I finally get out of the first half of the run, and I managed to get the one cycle thwomp twice in a row. Both times I needed to do it for the run. And then I was able to pretty much stick the landing for the rest of the run, which actually gave me world record by a decent margin, which I was so shocked about. Like, I didn't think I would be that close to world record. I didn't think figuring out how to get the one cycle like Neil did, and then managing to get twice super luckily, I didn't think that would be such a huge time. So like I was thinking it would maybe save 5 seconds, right? But no, because if you miss the jump and it gets too high, you have to have it stay up there for a bit, then it lands, then you jump on it, then you have to wait for it to ascend again, and as long as it's moving upward, you can jump off of it and make the jump to the top of the fortress perfectly fine. You can make it up there, no problem. Because the momentum is added immediately, so. But like for every cycle you miss, it's an extra 8 seconds you have to wait. So that saved so much time that I was able to beat the world record. And I could still save more time and kind of just guarantee my world record stays for a little while longer. But honestly, I kind of want someone to take the record again. I like having the competition, unironically. Because, like, now that I'm at the top, there's no other time I need to beat besides my personal best. Like, maybe my next goal would be my sum of best was like a 7:45 or something. I don't remember the exact time. It was like a 10-second... It was like 10 seconds shaved off because I did do a little bit of unoptimized movement a couple of times. I could still save a little bit of time on. But besides that, like, I'm already the top of the leaderboard. Like, I don't need to do anything else. It's honestly, it's kind of a Nimona situation, to keep it relevant to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, where it's like, I'm at the top, and I'm currently the best in this correct category, and there's no... From what I can tell, no active competition trying to go for the top spot. From what I can tell, I think I was the most active runner since... I think I was the one who uploaded the most runs, because I uploaded most of my PBs. It's like Plus Boy, I think, did like 2 or 3 runs, because he came in and swept the world record immediately when he first did a full run, and then he did it a couple more times, I think. And then there was Neil, who did the first ever run, optimized that a little bit when the game actually properly released on April Fool's. And then was ultimately kind of just doing glitch hunting until he took the world record back last week, I think. There was Nutella, who had the world record when I first started. And he just kind of did it because Nutellio, it's a reference to him. Ooh boy, it's funny. And then he got the world record. He's like, I'm not gonna come back until the world record's beaten because there's no point. And the world record has been beaten like multiple times over the course of like the last couple of weeks, and he still hasn't come back yet. So I don't know. Maybe he'll come back. Maybe he won't. We'll see. Wanye just had a time just so he could like make the leaderboard to begin with. So I think he's only done like 1 run and is currently at the bottom of the leaderboard. And I think he mentioned he wants to go back and do like a proper run with the newer tech to see if he can at least get a little higher. Because it's kind of funny that the dev of the game is the slowest speedrunner of the game. Like, he's not going to try to optimize and go for world record or anything. And then I haven't heard much from Plus Boy about it, but the two of us were kind of rivals for a little bit back when I was actively running, trying to get world record. And I would get close, and then some new tech would be found, and then Plus Boy would save like 7 seconds. And I'd be like, ah, crap. But now it's all, that arc's just kind of over. I won. It's like a Pokemon champion thing where it's like. It's like Gen 1, where like your rival ends up becoming the champion before you do, and then you face him, and then you become the champion, and that's kind of it. and that's the game. You know? The rivalry's kind of done-ish? I don't know. I might go back and try to optimize my time more, but, if you want to see my world record run, check the speedrun.com leaderboard for Supar Nutellio 67. That's spelled Supahr, in reference to Mar, another community member. Nutellio 67. Go to the speedrun leaderboard for that and look for the 6-star category. I am currently the world record holder there. On it, I could try learning the proper route for 21-star. The 100% route, because the only person that actually completed a run with that is Neil, and no one else has even tried. So maybe I could go in and get like, I could fully sweep the world records, maybe? But, not really a major priority. It's like, mainly because there was one strat that was used at any percent until Neil found how much time it saved just from going and doing the swamp skip. Where 2 stars in the Wumps Fortress level, the 8 red coins and the 100 coin star, spawn pretty much right next to each other. So if you angle yourself right and dive into it, you can collect both stars, because the stars don't actually count until you land. It's really weird. It actually is some really funny, funny circumstances, because you actually jump up and keep any forward momentum when you collect the star in the game. And if you're not careful, you can actually be sent into bottomless pits, and then the star doesn't count. And it's really funny. It's gotten me like 3 times in my original playthrough. It's really funny when that happens. Because in normal Mario 64, when you grab a star and you jump up for a star, Mario's horizontal movement gets locked to where the star is, but your vertical momentum still stays. So it kind of looks like Mario can bounce up with the star after a certain point. When Wanye programmed it, he didn't lock the horizontal momentum to 0. So you still carry your forward momentum. And that's just really funny. So he kept it. Because it was the entire game was made as like a little thing in a month for an April Fool's joke. Like a little yearly April Fool's thing. That's the whole point. So like having it be a bit more goofy and not as optimized, like that makes it funny. It's a kind of goofy jank, and then some people use it to their advantage for speedrunning. It's cool. I hated doing double star though. I actively hated doing that. Wanye is still updating the game, by the way, and fixing a couple bugs. He's not messing with anything that would fuck with the speedrun, so you can download the newest version of the game and still speedrun like everyone else. It's not a scenario like AAA titles where like some sort of thing gets used for speedruns and then they update the game and remove the exploit. So you have to play on like 1.0, which means if you're not playing physically, you can literally never update the game from digital. Or you have to find some way to down patch, which isn't always easy to do. Like I think Steam lets you do that for like mods stuff. I don't know if you can do it generally. And then as long as you have a physical release of a Nintendo game for like Switch, you can downgrade to 1.0 from there. But running digital is faster because you're loading the game off of the hard drive, not from the game card, and load times are still counted in speedruns. So you're actually at a disadvantage if you don't play digital. If you play digital, you can never update your game. If you do it by accident, you're never running the game again. It's so stupid. It's so freaking stupid because Nintendo wants you to play the game the way they want you to. And speedrunners don't like playing the games in ways they're intended. They like finding cheese strats and glitches and whatnot. And it's the whole thing. Indie devs, especially when they're making a goofy little game for April Fools in the span of like a month, like they don't care too much about that. I think, like, since the gripes I had with the game that I mentioned during Pac-Man, Wanye has since added a way to invert controls on the boat, so you're not running that backwards with reverse controls. Because Wanye programmed the way he did because he wanted to make it more realistic to an actual boat controls. But it's a video game, so you're not turning right to go left, and it's very confusing. Wanye has now added an option to disable that and just play it so turning left goes left. Which is a lot more natural, and it's very much a help. He is currently working on a fix in River where one of the hitboxes on the rocks is entirely wrong, where you actually hit thin air and completely stop, and then you can go behind the rock and completely drive into it and clip into it almost entirely. And that's not good. He's gonna fix that. And I think he's gonna add an option to actually properly, fully rebind your controls, because the default controls aren't the greatest. And in fact, despite how clunky I think the keyboard controls actually are for that game, it was actually designed with keyboard in mind first, because the way you'd originally move the boat forward was holding up, which would be the W key. But there wasn't really an equivalent on the controller besides, like, having to hold up on the stick the entire time, and you had to tilt the stick while still holding up. So you had to go, like, up, left, up, right to turn, and it was super awkward. Adding in with the reverse control, so now you can just accelerate with the jump button. That's good. That's a very convenient thing. And then, I think he's fixed some other minor things that don't really matter much. But generally, he's not going to update the game to fuck with the speedrun route unless something gets found in a newer version that breaks everything. Which, you never know. He might miss a line of rock in the river again, and suddenly we're able to drive over the entire... We're trying to drive up on a rock, and then clip through the boundary, just drive to the goal. Like, you skip the entire river and save a full minute. You never know. But that's our first sandwich done. And we have ourselves a shiny giraffe rig as a bonus. And 2 Dudunsparce. I'm going to say we have a bold, a timid, and an animate. Bashful, bashful, hardy. We do have a mark on this one. Absent-minded. Dudunsparce is spacey. Okay. So, we're not going to worry about giraffe rig. You can kind of stay as you are. However, we do care about our Dudunsparces. We're going to put Hyperdrill on it. Then we're going to level it up, and then it's going to evolve. Same with you. I marked up the counter on the first one. I have not on the second one yet, because I wanted to make sure the counter was accurate in case the first one ends up being the 3 segment. And I was a bit of a stupid fellow and just marked it too early. But alright, rare candy, go! Dudunsparce number 80. It is 2 segment. Alright, fair enough. And number 81. Go ahead and increment the counter up. Dudunsparce 81 is also a 2 segment. Okay. We have not hit odds yet, I don't think, because the odds of getting a 3 segment from Evolution are 1 in 100. Here's the Empoleon, by the way. I did it. The odds of getting the Evolution are 1 in 100 off of a wild encounter. You can't get a 3 segment in the wild or from raids. And then from there, it's just shiny odds on top of that, which I think now with the sandwich boost and the shiny charm is 1 in 1,024. Or somewhere around those lines. But the shiny rate and the 3 segment evolve rate are completely separate, so you can't say it's like a 1 in... It's not like a 1 in 100,000 type deal, I don't think. It's completely separate. It's 2 separate dice rolls. So, I don't know. Because, like, the 1 in 100 chance for... excuse me. The 1 in 100 chance for the Dudunsparce is separate from the shiny odd roll. So I think it would still just be a 1 in 100. And the shiny doesn't really contribute to odds, I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, I have all the Dudunsparce still here, including one I think I have somewhere back in here somewhere, like my own personal collection. And then the giraffe rig. Do we have any other, like, available shiny spots? One day, this entire floor has been completely butchered, but one day, Absol Vlogs Pokemon will do a surprise trade thing with Gen 9. He's doing one for Gen 8 as we speak. When he gets to Gen 9, I'm going to be ready, because I have Whoopers, I have Haunters, I'm not going to put Everstones on. So they're actually going to evolve. It's like, I get to be helpful. Okay. For now, though, I want to put you with other shinies so I can keep you organized. I don't remember. Yeah, here's the shiny Dudunsparce. I'm keeping this one because I caught this one on my... This was a birthday stream Dudunsparce, so it has the birthday mark on it. So I'm keeping this one. Where do I have? Oh hey, it's a lot of the team from back in my competitive time. The very short time I did with it. Barry Jr. There's my original Ceruledge, 0. Candy the Hydrapple. Oh, the nostalgia's kicking in. You know what? Giraffe Rig, you can stay with them. You can stay with them for a while. Okay. With that, let's head back to the picnic table. I got another sandwich to do. So the shiny luck was definitely very early this time, and then it just dwindled immediately after. But it was funny though. That was really funny. That's one of my favorite sandwiches the whole time we've done this. It's just that happened. 2 tofus. And we'll do 2 bitters again. I should probably start doing more Terra raids to grind for Herba Mystica at this point. 'Cause I think I'm starting to run kind of low on the useful ones. Because I think the sour ones actively fuck up the sandwich boosts too much. So it wouldn't give me the... I think it wouldn't give me the encounter bonus for normal. Which would kind of ruin the point of giving the shiny boost to begin with. So, we're just not gonna worry about that. We're just gonna move on. So, yeah. This week has just been full of surprises. Let's say that. It's just been full of surprises. I feel like if I want to talk about Mario movie or current speculation involving Nintendo stuff, I think I want to wait for Vix to get here, because Vix and I have great discussions about speculation stuff. So it wouldn't really feel right to speculate on stuff like that without him here. So I think it's only fair. Otherwise, I'm trying to think. What other things do I want to bring up? Because half I just freaking forgot. I forgot the stuff I tried to talk about during Pac-Man, so... And sometimes when I do remember, I don't want to talk about during this, unless Vix is here, because that kind of like bouncing off point is nice. I mean, I guess I can still talk about something anyway. You may remember Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition was something that was recently found via like a rating board. Apparently now there's a listing for it on a French website. And it might be the birthday game for Sonic this year. Which, I still don't know how to feel about it. But I guess I'd be playing through it again. Probably as Shadow. Because we have the rating board thing. We have a listing on a website for like you can't purchase it or pre-order it yet, but it's a listing now. So like Sega might as well be upfront and say it, but they're probably not gonna mention anything about it until Sonic Central hits, or they can just put it on Twitter. Hi, Shiny Dunsparce. I don't know. I feel like if they're gonna announce the definitive edition for Sonic Frontiers, it would have to be during like a Sonic Central. But that wouldn't happen until Sonic's birthday anyway, I don't think. And having a game launch the same day you announce it, like, shadow dropping is one thing, but it really only works for digital games, I think. Because the physical, like, people would find out to realize it's digital only in that case, but like, I hope that you can get it physically and have everything in one package. But also, there's an upgrade pack to it, you know? I don't want to have to buy the game again just to get the extra stuff for Definitive Edition, because that would be stupid. Especially because Frontiers is still, like, current gen. Like, I think the only current gen console that Sonic Frontiers is not on right now is Switch 2. So, like, outside of a Switch 2 edition of the game, there wouldn't need to be another physical release. Realistically, right? So I feel like it would just be like an upgrade you could get. And I hope that's the case, because, imagine paying another $60 just to get Shadow DLC. You know? Given that it's a definitive edition, I don't expect it to be another free update. We had a lot of those. I think Sonic Team kind of spoiled us with the free updates. Don't get me wrong. So like, I'm just kind of surprised they hadn't moved on. Like, because they released the game and then they spent like an extra year updating it, like little bonus stuff, right? And that's all great. And I generally love the update content for Frontiers. Don't get me wrong. Most of it is quality. Final Horizon's a bit hit or miss, and luckily a lot of the issues I had with it have been ironed out. Master King Kroko is nowhere near as bad anymore. But with that being said, though, when Final Horizon released and they released a little extra patch for it to optimize it a little bit better, I thought they were done. I guess they really wanted Shadow to be in another newer game besides Forces stuff for Shadow Generations. And I guess they got themselves stuck in a hole. I don't know. It just feels weird. Like, was the Kronos Island thing just an excuse to make a definitive edition, or were they making that anyway? Because, like, outside of effectively porting the PS4 version to Switch 2, I don't really know what else they can release besides like, Shadow DLC, and that could just happen normally. It wouldn't justify a definitive edition re-release. You know? It wouldn't really sit right with me. But I'm hoping it's just a thing you can just buy an upgrade for, like similar to a Digital Deluxe sort of deal. As much as I freaking despise the Digital Deluxe stuff, as much as I despise that, I feel like it makes a little bit more sense when you're adding in like a whole extra campaign for Shadow. Like that's like a huge thing. It's not like, oh, you want to have these particular costumes or play as these characters? Pay an extra $10. Like, okay, it's not really a battle pass or anything, but it's kind of the same idea in my head, which is stupid. It's like with the case for like the characters, the data for the characters and their tracks are still in the game because you could still play those tracks online without getting Digital Deluxe, so you still have to have them on the system somewhere. So they're often just bundled with the free updates, right? So Digital Deluxe would be like, you're paying $10 for a key. I find that shit stupid. But with a definitive edition, with like a whole extra campaign for Shadow, perchance, you're paying money for content that wouldn't be there unless you paid for it. And I guess it makes a lot more sense because it's a single-player game, so, you know, like cross-play, DLC, Crossroads stuff wouldn't really apply, but like, I feel like an upgrade pack, like the classic expansion packs of old, like with World of Warcraft or The Sims, I feel like that generally makes more sense to be paid DLC and not just, you know, part of the game. I feel like expansion packs, or upgrade packs as Nintendo likes to call them for Switch 2 editions, I feel like those are generally better. You know? Because the stuff isn't just there and you can't play it without buying the DLC yourself. Or in Crossroads' case, without playing online. Which, in most cases, requires you paying a membership fee. I hate the fact that that's been normalized, but like, I don't even know. You want free online, you have to play on PC, but then you're dealing with the Nouveau bullshit, because they will not let that go. And we got more proof recently. I forget the game in question, but a game with the Nouveau recently got cracked. And the game legitimately runs 20% better without the Nouveau. And it removes the online-only restriction from the DRM. So, I think it's time that we classify Denuvo as malware. I think we realistically should. And I'm surprised we haven't already, because we once again have definitive proof that Denuvo is bad. Like, you thought games were already unoptimized before and ran like dog shit half the time. Oh boy! Get ready for another 20 to 30% decrease in performance with DRM constantly running. So bullshit. Like, Sega, we hate Denuvo, stop partnering with Denuvo. We hate Limited Run, don't do anything with them anymore. Especially after the Sonic Shadow Generation statues took legitimately 2 years to come out, and they were really bad. And they were just absolutely disgraceful to the point where they had to delay them again for the... There's like a smaller release of that. And they were found to be absolute junk. And then the CEO, I think the CEO for that company just quit or some shit. Like a big restructuring or something happened to them. And they delayed the overall broad release of the statues. And they're gonna give like replacements to the people who have the really shit ones. It's like, good for them, but I don't fucking trust you because Limited Runs only let us down. So like, so companies, I know you're not listening to me because I know a lot of these companies don't listen to what gamers have to say. And we know better than you because we actually play your games. And we don't just think about stupid business decisions because you want extra money. We think about trying to have a good brand and people actually having fun. So, listen to the gamers here. Stop using Denuvo DRM and stop partnering up a Limited Run. Because nobody is happy about this shit. Remember how they had to redo the Rugrats NES cartridge because it would actively break NES consoles? Remember how the Shantae GBA cartridges would sometimes have old reused parts in them that were partially degraded? How many times do we have to get burned by these companies before we're just like, no. People need to stop, okay? They need to stop. Until Limited Run gets their shit together, which I don't trust them to do for a decade, I think that companies need to learn to not freaking partner with them because you're not getting quality products from them. And then something with Denuvo. Stop using Denuvo DRM because it makes your games run like ass. You know? And then when the games with Denuvo get cracked, the pirated versions end up being better versions of the game. Which is a terrible thing! It's absolutely terrible when pirating a game gives you a better experience than buying it legitimately. That should never be the case! So why the fuck do we still use Denuvo DRM in games when it actively causes that problem? And people have been complaining about this for years! These companies never listen to the audience, I swear to God. And if they do, like in Sega's case, they take the wrong notes and overcorrect in the complete wrong direction and everything goes to shit. Have you seen how Sonic goes half the time? Like every time there's some complaint about a gameplay style or a game doesn't really do well, Sega takes all the wrong lessons and now you have characters that don't act like themselves, but only in the West because they're written differently in Japan. Honestly, written better. You have games that they take the complete wrong notes and they do something entirely different. It's like, oh, people really liked... What's a good example? Here's the most classic example. Sonic 06 is constantly being complained about. It must be because of the adventure-style gameplay and the overabundance of characters. Let's never do adventure gameplay again and have like a 10-year streak where you only play as Sonic. That'll solve every problem. And then they were so hard fixed on that to the point where anytime they wanted to add a new gameplay style, they had to augment Sonic with something. It's like, you want to make a Sonic game that has the sword, you gotta give Sonic a sword. So they did actually have extra playable characters from that, but they were almost so late game. Better example. Oh, we want to have like a sort of like brawler gameplay mode, kind of like God of War. And even though I think that would fit for Knuckles or maybe a new character, we only are allowed to have Sonic be playable. So we're gonna turn Sonic into a werewolf. that part of Sonic Unleashed is freaking stupid. It's incredibly stupid. Why did they do that? What were they thinking? I'm not saying the gameplay is inherently bad or anything, but like, it was a really dumb idea. I will 100% say that. And then when they made the open zone format with Sonic Frontiers, they just gave Sonic a fighting game moveset anyway. So it's like, okay. It's like you didn't have to add the weird werehog thing. I mean, it does give Unleashed part of its identity. It's kind of half the point, but like, it's also the part of the game that no one wants to play anymore. When people talk about Unleashed, they're talking about the daytime stages, and you know, that's why we had so many boost games. Oh, people really like colors. Let's put wisps in literally everything. And also fuck up the lore and design documents, I guess, for them too, because I do not like how some of the wisps are designed. Because, like, they have, like, a general rule, right? Where, like, all of the wisps have some sort of bright coloration, and they have eyes you can see in their souls. And then when all of their hyper go-on energy is sucked out of them, stupid name, they become a sort of dark purple color, because you have Purple Frenzy and Violet Void, I believe. And they just have these screaming, jagged mouths, no eyes. They kind of look, I wouldn't say demonic, but they definitely look a lot more scary, right? And that design did mostly stay with Lost World, with stuff like Crimson Eagle, and Magenta Melody, I think. Something like that. They were mostly alright. And then there's Black Bomb, which doesn't have the jagged mouth that Frenzy and Void do. But it doesn't have eyes. So it's not really fitting into either, which is weird. It still has the dark coloration. It's not really colorful, but it doesn't really fall in the same boat, right? Because the entire reason that the Frenzy and Void Wisp exists is because Eggman drains all their Hyper Go-On power for his mind control machine, and then what's left are just the husks of the Wisps. And then when their Hyper Golem power gets restored, usually by other Wisps if the ending of Sonic Colors to go by, they get their color back, they get their original designs and powers back, and they're less destructive. Which I guess the Bomb Wish does kind of fit the destruction angle, so I guess that one makes sense. Like, it still doesn't quite fit the rest of the designs, because the mouth's not super scary looking, it's oddly round. So I don't know about that one. And then the whole lore falls apart with Forces, where you now have Void as a Wispin, despite the fact that I was pretty sure all of the Void Wisps were returned back to normal. It also acknowledges that Colors DS is also canon to some extent. I mean, yes, Frenzy and Void Wisps are both seen in the ending for the Wii version, the DS version, and Colors Ultimate, because they use the same cutscenes in all three versions for like the CG stuff. Except in Colors DS's case, they made their own version of the Open that has the DS exclusive Burst and Void, which I think is cool they did that. Like, if you pay attention to the ending closely, you can see both Frenzy and Void in the ending, so they both exist. Sonic just only interacts with Frenzy, I guess, in the canonical version of the story. Because, like, none of the character interactions in the DS version are clearly canon for the mission modes. But they also acknowledge the Mother Wisp, and that was only in the DS version. They brought that back for, like, Team Sonic Racing had it as a cameo. It was like a buddy you could get in Sonic Runners. So they still acknowledge the DS version, but the canonicity of that one's still a bit muddy. But either way, Frenzy and Void shouldn't really exist because Wisps don't drain their Hyper Go energy that crazily naturally. Like, I think the way the Wisps work is kind of similar to the Chaos Emeralds. Or, like, in the cases like Perfect Chaos, it drains the energy. Like Perfect Chaos, or Eggman using the Emeralds to break open the Earth and lose Dark Gaia early. Like, that's the Chaos Emeralds using so much power so quickly it completely drains them, right? I always thought that the Chaos Emeralds don't really necessarily have infinite power, but they have a sort of power regen. And when Supersonic uses them, or when you use the Emerald powers, they have like a natural regen time, to where, like, you know, it's like they have to cool off, right? Or they need some other thing to keep themselves going. Like, the Emerald power, they only last for a certain amount of time, and only while the character's focused, because if they get the power's lost, and then the recharge a checkpoint. Super, it needs rings to stay powered, and they made that officially canon proper with Final Horizon. Given the fact that if you're under 100 rings and you go to the next phase of the fight, you straight up die. So rings are 100% canon how the Chaos Emeralds work. It's not just a gameplay thing, so that's nice to clarify. Like, they can naturally regain their energy by themselves. But if they're drained of their power too quickly, it will just cause the Emerald to kind of be left in a dormant state. In Perfect Chaos's case, it takes a negative energy, but the positive energy is still there, and Supersonic takes advantage of that. But even then, it would probably still take time for the Emeralds to get their color back still, right? There's still some energy there, there's a little bit of a spark, but it would take time to get the full energy back. And in the case of Sonic Unleashed, Eggman drains the full power of the Emeralds way too fast and turns them into rocks. Just dull, gray rocks. So Sonic has to go to each of the Gaia temples to give the Chaos Emeralds a jump start. Right? And that's why you never see Supersonic with only like 1 or 2 Chaos Emeralds, despite the fact that the Chaos Emeralds supposedly have infinite power. Because a couple Emeralds would drain power super fast to have enough power to power Supersonic. And then we'd just be kind of left in the same boat, where the Chaos Emeralds would be all dull and worn out, and there'd be no energy left. I figured the Wisp would kind of be the same way, because the Wisps, Eggman, normally when you use a Wisp, they use their power, and then they leave to go recharge or something, right? They absorb into you, use them once, they pop out, they're gone, right? But they still stay themselves. They use enough of their power to give the power to you, and then when they physically can't without wasting away, they leave and they go recharge, you know? I guess a really funny example, I guess, would be if any of you have watched Miraculous Ladybug, the Kwamis in that, when you use their special power, it actually does take a lot of their energy. But you can't do it too much, because it drains them, and then you have to feed them in order to get their energy back up and everything. I think Wisp would be kind of like that, where they use their power, they give them their power to you, and you can do the laser or the burst or the drill, and then, after a time, they get kind of tired, and they gotta go sit and rest for a bit. they don't overexert themselves to the risk of draining all their energy and becoming, Frenzy or Void. But they're conscious enough about it where it doesn't really happen naturally. It's only really happened in the case of Colors where Eggman forces them, right? So why the hell... They all were brought back in the end of Colors because the Wisps that didn't have their full energy drained effectively gave some of the energy to the Frenzy and Void Wisps. I don't want to say their official group name because, it'd be kind of awkward. But the whole thing is that they get some of their energy back, and then they're able to get that regen back going, and then they're good, right? It's like whenever you have exhausted, you go nuts at the gym, right? Kind of exhausted and super sore, and you need to take a little bit of a break, because if you keep going to the gym while you're super exhausted, you're gonna tear a muscle. You're gonna hurt yourself doing that. So you gotta take rest days, and you gotta not overexert yourself, or else you can just be like, I can't move. There's a healthy balance, right? You gotta have time to rest. And if you don't have that time to rest, then your body just, collapses in on itself, basically. And the Wispins in Sonic Forces, I feel like, are more ethical than what Eggman was doing, considering they're being used by Team Sonic. And I don't think it's ever explained really where they came from. You'd think Tails would have something to do with their creation, but Tails was kind of just on his own little adventure, away from everyone else. Just kind of away from everyone else, super upset about Sonic being captured, and completely breaking his character in the process. Yikes. But, your avatar already has Wispins, and he gets more throughout the adventure just because. I don't know. But he also has a Void one. He has a Void Wispin. But that shouldn't exist because the Void Wisps were all cured at the end of Colors, right? And then they keep bringing Void back as a power-up in Sonic Racing, and it's like, no. You have Asteroid, you have Indigo Asteroid now thanks to Lost World. You have an equivalent you can use for stuff like that, but no. No. It's dumb. I don't like it. The lore is ruined. What are you doing? Maybe you could say that some Wisps aren't responsible and they drain all their power and they just become Frenzy and Void naturally. And I guess you could be right about that, but it wouldn't realistically happen enough to supply enough Void Wisps to justify a Void Wispin and multiple uses in racing tournaments. The real question is, what the hell is Dudunsparce doing to them? Because Wisps have only been added as racing items in Team Sonic Racing and Racing Crossroads. With new character Dudunsparce. What the hell is he doing behind the scenes? What the hell is he up to? I don't understand that guy. But back to the main point, the designs, inconsistencies, makes me mad. And then you have the Jade Wisp, which is introduced for Colors Ultimate and Team Sonic Racing. And it has the general, bright color of a normal Wisp. But it has the evil, jagged mouth of Frenzy and Void. But it's not drained of its Hyper Gohan power. But it doesn't have the design philosophy as the rest? Is it because it's a Ghost Wisp? And it's dead? Are Jade Ghosts the results of Wisps dying? Are they Wisp spirits? I don't know, but they still act like other Wisps do. They absorb into you, they give you a power for a time, and then they leave when they get exhausted. So they still would have Hyper Go-On power, right? So why do they have the evil mouths of the Frenzy and Void Wisps? That makes no sense. What are you doing, Sega? I love going to these random tangents where I just complain about random crap. I actually was, at one point, going to make a whole video talking about the Wisps and how inconsistent the designs are and how it frustrated me personally. But, like, I cannot make long-form essay videos for the life of me. It's just not my style. I cannot pull it off. So the best you're getting is me talking about it on stream here. And I know I've talked about it before, but it's been like 2 years, so... You know... And the Wisps are... sadly, still somewhat relevant given the fact that some of them are in Team Sonic Racing. Not Team Sonic Racing, Sonic Racing Cross Worlds. The other one, the sequel one. not to be confused with the iPhone game Sonic Racing, which everyone clowned on for the ad where Sonic's effectively a fucking Twitch streamer. And it was incredibly stupid and we all hated it. So we all clown on it. And then Tails becomes a fucking VTuber, I guess. I don't know. I mean that one's probably just because Sega of Japan noticed how popular stuff like Hololive was starting to get, so they went in on that. Why do you think there's so many collabs with Corone? With stuff like the official DLC for the Japanese version of Frontiers. You have the original song in Cross Worlds. So, like, she's pretty much their new brand ambassador, I believe. I think she's actually their brand ambassador for Sonic. I think originally it was Aaron Hansen of Game Grumps fame, who actively hates Sonic, despite the fact that he claims to... Like, he says he loves him, but he really doesn't. He complains about Sonic way more than we do. And not out of love, I can assure you. Anyway, 2 more Dudunsparce. They're not gonna do more Bashfuls. I'm not gonna guess Bashful. I'm not gonna guess Bashful again. I'm gonna say Impish and we'll go Adamant again. Relaxed, mild. Okay. We'll put a mark on that one. Relaxed though. Funny. This is supposed to be a stream that's meant to have me relax a bit. You know, take a bit of a load off from Pac-Man and just, you know, not be so frustrated and everything. And then here I am going on a rant about the design of power-ups in Sonic the Hedgehog. and talking about how Denuvo and Limited Run are plagues of the gaming world. It's like, okay. So much for relaxing. Anyway, we have 2 more Dudunsparce here. Maybe one will be a 3 segment. Let's see. Hey, Vix, they are! Just in time to see number 82. It is a 2 segment. Still one more. I wish you were here at the start of the stream, and I'll show why in a second. But first, Dudunsparce number 83. Or I guess the Dudunsparce, because we're counting the fully evolved ones we found in the wild. They still count. we count the duds. Yeah, no 3 segment yet. The start of the stream was actually really funny, because I make the sandwich, I go, I warp to the spot, and the first Pokemon I see is a shiny Girafarig. And I'm like, wait a minute, that looks a bit... Is that the shit I'm messing with? But hang on. I encounter it. It's shiny. I'm like, oh, okay. Take a little bit of the catch it, because I'm doing some quick ball on it, and Ultra Balls aren't catching the thing because it has a surprisingly low catch rate. I enter the cave. First Dudunsparce I see, and there's a shiny too. And then I see another shiny a couple minutes later. And that was just it for the first sandwich. So, the first sandwich was very entertaining. And then I went on my usual ranting about Sonic and Denuvo and the gaming industry and that sort of deal. You can check back on that stuff if you want after stream's over. But it has been a treat today. It has been quite something. But I think we'll do a couple more sandwiches. I've mostly just been kind of I want to say relaxing after what happened with Pac-Man last stream. I'm still debating whether or not I want to go back to it. I was going to make a poll, like, do you want me to do this or this? And I didn't make it because I'm like, I don't even want there to be a chance I go back to Pac-Man right now. I just want to stop for a bit. Maybe we'll come back to it later for the post-game second quest thing. And of course, the rest 100%. But I wanted to have like a little week where I just stop for a bit. Then maybe if people vote to bring Pac-Man back next week, we do it next week. So like today and tomorrow, probably just going to be more Dudunsparce stuff. So I wanted a break. and this, I feel like, would generally be classified as the break streams. Because these are the times where I can focus more on interacting with the chat, not so much about raging about a game. I can rage about other things instead that have nothing to do with what's being shown on screen. Because, like, shiny hunting, your focus really isn't on the game itself, more so than, like, anything else. Yeah. So I can take these moments to kind of just talk. Like, these are effectively, like, podcast streams, I guess. So, I woke up today to seeing Battlefield 6 was basically all major criticisms in one go? Holy shit. Wow! Some good news. we love seeing good news. Anything to prevent me from talking about how Denuvo is absolute garbage. So I brought that up because I forget what game it was, but there was a game where Denuvo was cracked recently on it, and they did like a performance comparison, and the game literally runs better when you pirate it, and it doesn't have the DRM on it, which I feel like is a problem. It should not be a worse experience to buy the game legitimately, right? So why the hell do we still use Denuvo for anything? Why is it not classified as malware? Because it realistically should be. Because, like, if you want DRM, there's gotta be better alternatives, right? At least ones that don't come out like a 20% performance cut. And don't force always online every week and tanking your performance and... Ugh. There are better ways. There are better ways, you know? It's half the reason why I don't get a lot of these games on Steam. Like, yeah, I lose it on mod support, but I'm actually able to run the games on my Switch, even if they look a little bit worse. Because they probably look about as bad on this laptop anyway. So, like, what do you expect? You know? I'd rather just buy the Switch version because it's gonna be better than the PC one. Even if I can't mod it. It got me ranting about Denuvo and Limited Run and the whole Sega thing, and then that just been into a whole rant about Sega taking the wrong notes about their complaints about games, and that's why we have characters being written wrong, specifically in the West. The amount of Amy, Rouge, and Sonic discourse, especially, when it comes to how these characters are written. And it's mostly a problem in the West. It's kind of crazy. Because a lot of the problems don't seem to be an issue in Japan. Which, yeah, it's a little frustrating. I will also say this. I did, like, recently replay Sonic and Shadow Generations. Because I want to do that for Archipelago stuff. Kind of like what I want to do with Donkey Kong 64. And because I'm playing the Switch version, I have to use a manual version of it. I have to effectively check boxes. I'm not modding the game, as mentioned before. So, I figured to freshen things up, I would just turn on the Japanese voices. Because I've never played a Sonic game with the Japanese voices on. I think I like the Japanese voices more than the English cast. I think I have joined that boat now. Like I've definitely seen some clips of people playing with the Japanese voices on before, but like I don't know, it hits different. Especially like not just for like 2-minute clips, like random out of context segments, just like playing the full game with the Japanese audio. It just the characters sound more like the characters than they do in English. It's actually kind of crazy. I'm willing to bet half is just because Japanese voice direction is just generally better than English voice direction. The voice direction in Sonic has been a bit shaky, let's be honest here. It's still not great nowadays. One prime example that I will always bring up is specifically in Sonic Racing Crossworlds with Charmy. I think I've mentioned this before, I might not have, where there's a line where so the rivals can interact with you based on like how you're performing. Like they'll taunt you if you're behind them. They'll get upset a little bit if you're ahead of them, right? So if you're in first and you pick the crossword you go to, they make a comment about how like, they wanted to be the one to choose, or okay, fine, we'll just go your way, whatever. And they make some sort of comment about that. Now, Charmy, one of his lines is, "I wanted to do that," and how it's supposed to go is that Charmy's being like, I wanted to do that. I wanted to be the one to choose the crossroad and be in first and win the race and all that. Because, you know, he's being a whiny little brat. However, the voice doesn't emphasize the I, it emphasizes the wanted. So instead of it sounding like it's Charmy being upset that he didn't get to choose the crossworld, it sounded like Charmy getting mad because he accidentally used an item wrong. So that's not the correct way to say a sentence. I don't know how no one caught that. Or like, what's going on with the voice direction, but like, what's going on there, pal? That's not the way the line should be read. How did you miss that? And then do I need to even bring up Rouge and Sonic Dream Team where like a sort of like groan turns into a what the fuck was that? The fuck was that about? What the hell happened? Oh yeah, Charmy's VA is the same as Tails' VA nowadays. That wasn't originally the case, I know that for a fact. I don't know when that changed. But a lot of times it does sound really similar. You're right. There's not enough to differentiate the two voices. You just hear like a higher pitched version of Tails, which you'd kind of expect from the classic Tails voice from the dub of Sonic Generations for the new re-release, but I don't know. It's I think that's what Kate Higgins did, right? I think she was the voice of Tails back at that time. I think that was her during Colors and OG Gens. And it was swapped to Colleen for Lost World and onwards. Don't get me wrong, I think Miss O'Shaughnessy, I think that's how you pronounce her name, she does a good job as Tails. Charmy needs a bit of work. And I can't even entirely blame her for it. Because the voice direction is so hit or miss in the English dub, it's ridiculous. It is an absolute mess. Hey, do I need to bring up Frontiers? Like, I think Frontiers was fine. I understand what they were going for with a more somber mood, and they wanted the Sonic characters to kind of sound more somber. But they went so crazy with it that Sonic doesn't even sound like Sonic half the time in that game anymore. To the point where even casual, like, what the fuck happened? Like, even Roger Craig Smith himself was like in the recording booth, he was doing the lines for Frontiers, and he was like, "You've gotta be kidding me." It's like, that should be a sign that something is wrong. Like, I understand, like, maybe you want to have Sonic sound a little bit more, like, not depressed, but more, like, tired, I guess. But there are better ways of doing it than just, like, there was a point where Roger Craig Smith played Captain America in some of the animated Marvel shows. Sonic and Frontiers kind of sounds more like Captain America than it does Sonic. And I didn't really complain about it much back with Frontiers because that was really just it in isolation. But then you compare it to, like, everything else, and it's like, wow, I didn't realize. It is really, wow, that's really bad. What happened? It's just, I don't know. It is kind of doing weird stuff for it to attempt to differentiate. Well, here's the thing. There's weird stuff to try to differentiate them for Tails and Charmy, and then they're just actively reading the line in the wrong way to actually not fit the context. I wish I saved the clip on my Switch so I could have the clip ready to go. So I can just show the problem I have with that line in particular. It's a very small case. It's not as much of an issue as, like, story content for, like, Sonic Frontiers or Dream Team. Where, like, Rouge sounds entirely wrong, or Sonic sounds like Captain America when he's, like, super weak. He's like, what the hell? Like, it's definitely, like, a smaller case, but it definitely just shows a problem. So I can't blame any problems with the voice acting entirely on the voice actors. As much as people like to do that in the Sonic community, they blame the voice actors. And then you have recent material coming out where Ian Flynn's writing the Sonic characters more so for the voice actors and the characters themselves. And that might be half of the problem to why some of the Sonic stories feel a bit weird at points. I don't know. I think he generally did an okay job. I can't fully blame him for the problems either. It's a team effort, and it's all going wrong. Alright. Speaking of all going wrong, here's a evolved Dudunsparce that can never be a 3 segment, so he's just kind of there as box filler. I still plan on doing what I did with the Shiny Iron bundles a couple years back for a Christmas/New Year's thing. I do want to, once I get my 3 segment, actually give out my 2 segments to people who want them. Or maybe just, like, wonder trade them out. Hell, I might save, like, a box of them for the eventual Absolblog's Pokemon Pokedex thing he does. He's finally doing one for Sword and Shield now, I think. So I think he held off on the Switch ones because the wonder trading is so ass. With all the botted stuff in there. But I think he just couldn't hold off anymore? I don't know. But that means he'll eventually get to Gen 9, then I could actually contribute. But yeah, I can't really say for sure. I don't know if it's as big of a problem in Japan. I don't understand Japanese, but the voices do just sound better. They sound more like the characters would, in my personal opinion. So, like, I don't know. Long story short, I like the Japanese voices more, and the English ones need a lot more work, and I don't think it's entirely the VA's fault. In fact, a lot of the western side of Sonic's actually a bit of a clusterfuck at the moment. So, yeah. I know I probably shouldn't be overthinking stuff about Sonic like this too much, but, like, it's the type of person I am to really overthink things that I watch or play or otherwise consume, you know? Like, if you want a guy who like looks into the stories of things and points out plot holes, like I'm the kind of guy. I like consistency, and if you're inconsistent for any reason, I'm gonna judge you. And I'm gonna point out where you fucked up. And in cases where you do like a lackluster job, I will find some way to make it make sense. Let's face it, some of the lore involving the Chaos Emeralds as of late has been a bit confusing. So, I don't know. all I'm saying is that Sega needs to hire me to look over the drafts of their Sonic games. I can look over how the characters written, and then they'll actually be good. Oh, man. Very interesting voice segments from voicing characters in RPG while playing them with friends. So, yeah. So you get it. You get it. Just some weird stuff with the Japanese translation, if I recall correctly. Yeah. I wouldn't say it's perfect in that direction either, but, like, at least the characters still felt more like the characters, right? At the very least, Junichi, I think that's the Japanese VA's name. He doesn't, like, lower his voice, isn't, like, deepen the voice for Sonic to an exaggerated degree to the point where he doesn't sound like Sonic anymore. He still sounds like Sonic. so I don't know. Something's going on in the English dub stuff. It is primarily a Western issue, from what I can tell. I'm not gonna add that the translation's perfect, but let's face it, the translation in both directions has been kind of iffy. Mostly in the Western direction, I noticed. Since, like, forever. There's an entire Twitter account. And their entire thing is that they're trying to advertise like a Japanese learning app, and they often use that to talk about how poorly translated a bunch of Sonic games are. Like, they talk about the Shadow Line, where Sonic's talking about going to the Space Colony Arc. They talk about Eggman hosting the race to see who's the fastest. And they compare with the Japanese versions, and the Japanese versions make so much more sense. Like, something got lost in translation there, and they did such a shit job. And some of that is kind of happening nowadays still. It's weird. If I recall correctly, the game was actually written in English, then translated by the director. Huh. That doesn't seem like the type of guy who should be doing translating work. But, okay. First time doing this script Japanese translation, like Sonic 8 on grammar textbook. I mean, it's still better than we need to find the last emerald. It's still better than whatever the fuck we got. It's like in like true retrospect, like what the hell? In isolation, it sounds kind of okay, but like then you start looking at the other Sonic games and you realize that something went wrong. At least Sonic still sounds like Sonic in Japan. That problem is solved. Mainly because, if I remember correctly, Japan really cares about voice acting and consistency. Like, a lot of times, I don't know if it's entirely true, but I think I've heard before that Japan doesn't like to replace voice actors unless they literally are forced to. You know? Because they like keeping things, like, super consistent in that regard. And then if they have to replace them, they don't go the good enough sort of. They try to get someone who sounds pretty damn close, right? Like in English, a lot of the characters will often just sound entirely different with the new VAs. Like compare Knuckles, for instance. Compare how he sounded when Dan Green voiced him back in the 4Kids era, like Sonic X, Shadow, Sonic 06, that stuff. And then compare that to the voice he got in Generations and Lost World, and then compare that with now. Like, he sounds a lot different, right? I don't think that kind of stuff happens in Japan. Not from what I could tell, especially considering that Sonic has been voiced by the same guy since Sonic Adventure. In fact, I think the only Sonic things that don't have Junichi do it, I think, are the Sonic movies, the Paramount stuff. I think it's been him otherwise. I could be wrong. I don't know for sure, because I don't watch a lot of Japanese dubs of Sonic stuff. Maybe because a lot of times when you get a DVD or a Blu-ray of things here in the West, you get English, you get Spanish, you get French, and that's about it. Some Blu-ray releases will give you the European languages, but you're not getting any further than that. Like, I think I have Ice Age Dawn of the Dinosaurs on Blu-ray. And I think that has the original 3 languages you get on DVD, and it also has, like, Russian and Portuguese and all that. So, like, get a whole bunch more stuff there. Meanwhile, you get stuff like, I have Sonic Prime on Blu-ray. It's only in English. I don't know what that sounds like in Japanese. I don't know if Junichi's doing that one or not. It's supposed to be canon, somehow. So you'd think they're trying to keep it consistent, right? I don't know. So dumb. The Sonic franchise is so dumb sometimes. I don't understand what they're doing half the time. I make jokes about how I could do it better, but sometimes I question if maybe I could. Sometimes I wonder if maybe I could do it better. I don't know. I don't know. I'll check chat in a minute once I get to a little bit of a area. If I already get the voice direction, I'll have Sonic default to the deeper tone, but a more energetic scene to have its voice go to more. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. It's like I like Sonic being a bit more like sort of somber-ish, I suppose, during like quieter, calmer scenes, like the scene where he's talking with Knuckles. Knuckles having this whole thing where, like, I can't lose this! He's reminded of Angel Island in the worst way possible, because, my god, that game was clearly rushed as well. Why does he think about the Sonic 3 opening and not, like, Hidden Palace Zone? But whatever. He's thinking about his home and all that, and Sonic takes a little moment to slow down, and he wants to make a little joke to him, but he holds back. He holds back and everything. That's the type of moment that I think Sonic should have more like a toned-down voice for. Not to the point where it gets in Frontiers, but definitely, like, toned down. But when he's, like, making little joking remarks, yeah, have that sound like normal Sonic. And, of course, like, add, like, a little pained inflection to it when the cyber corruption starts really kicking in. Like, that's when you should start leaning in that direction a bit more. But, you know, don't exaggerate it too much, you know? Yeah, when you're telling a joke, make a sarcastic comment, go to the higher pitch. Yeah, make him sound like, you know, how you say Sonic to be, you know. But when he's you know, taking it a bit slow and having these meaningful conversations with these characters and talking about the actual destruction of this ancient civilization he's witnessing, like, that's the point where he needs to, like, not be so, like, cheerful and energetic, and that's the point where he should be like, man. Don't go this low with him. This ain't Sonic the Hedgehog. But like yeah, tone it back a little bit. Have it still sound like Sonic, but don't go so drastic. And I'm guessing I've not played all of Frontiers in Japanese. Do they do it kind of like that with the Japanese version? To the very least, Sonic still sounds more like Sonic does. In the bits I've seen. Because, like, Junichi does not do the lowered voice stuff nearly as much as Roger does. So there's definitely some change in voice direction going on there. I'd have to analyze the full scripts themselves to get like a full case of whether or not the individual versions are better than each other. But I will say this: I do know for a fact that the kind of cringy line in the Generations port, the without the time stones thing, I don't think that's in the Japanese version. People make jokes about Ian Flynn forcing a bunch of references. That's one of the prime examples. I like the fact that they acknowledge that, but acknowledging the time stones, cool. It would have made more sense if you weren't building the entire like rewrite on the original cutscenes, and you could pace it your own different way, and you could have like a full scene where they're discussing how the hell this shit works, and like you could do it a more like natural way. But no, it's basically a real-time fan dub. It's one of the many reasons why I don't like Generations Modern Port's new rewrite. I hate it so much. It's just... Man, that rewrite was such a freaking mess. Like, I know they can edit the cutscenes because they're willing to edit Amy and Silver. Amy should now, she pounces at Sonic and then suddenly, continuity here, now she has a big freaking plate of cupcakes and she's not being held back cartoonishly by Sonic anymore. And she can't knock Knuckles into a tree with one slapstick like she was in the ending of the original game. That's sad. Also, Silver has a chili dog in the ending now because that's funny. His animation's still him being like pumped and excited, so it just kind of looks like he's like gripping this chili dog to the point where it should be getting bits of chili dog everywhere on its glove. Realistically, what the fuck? And yet they don't modify the scene where Classic Sonic's reacting to Knuckles commenting on his weight, but the line's different. And Knuckles is talking about Angel Island, so now it insinuates that Classic Sonic ate Angel Island? I don't know. It's so half-assed and it makes me so mad. God, I hate the rewrite so much. Okay. This is supposed to be the relaxing fun time. I need to stop complaining. I need to stop getting mad about Sonic the Hedgehog. This is not the time for that. This is supposed to be the happy fun time. I get to get shinies, and if I'm gonna talk about Sonic, it's gonna be talking about how it's a happy 35th anniversary. We can all be happy. The Sonic fans all came together when Sonic put the advance artwork on for social media to represent the 2000s. And we were all super happy. We all came together. Kumbaya and all that. I will admit, I'm really happy that like every month or two they're swapping out the look for the social media to represent each decade of Sonic. And everyone is like, man, the aura that Sonic had in the 2000s is so much better. Like, they're kind of right. They're kind of right. The 3D model does not do justice to anything. But then, you know, the Sonic Advance artwork, peak. So good. And then right at that same time, there was the Mega Man thing for Crossworlds, and they had the way that the Twitter responded to the Mega Man Twitter when that was going on. People were saying, this isn't a brand account, this is just Sonic. It's like, something changed. Something changed. And now we're getting new Sonic Adventure 2 figures, like little statues, which have the original designs done in 3D. And they look so good. They look so good. The people who complain about how the adventure style wouldn't look good in 3D, suck it. The 2000s were just better for overall Sonic style, and a lot of that was just lost in the 2010s. And I'm so glad that a lot of the Sonic community really noticed that with the 2000s social media nostalgia thing they're doing for the anniversary. I think they're gonna change it again fairly soon to be the '90s, and we're probably gonna see that dreaded Sonic 1 art again that they used since like the 20th. Where's the classic Sonic 1 where he has the freaking finger wag? It's that one again. They're probably gonna do that one again. But like, there's a chance they could do like a Sonic CD one. I'm personally a fan of the art where Sonic's kind of adjusting his glove. But like, I don't know if that'll really work as well. I'm not sure. It's not as iconic, I guess, as that Sonic 1 classic Sonic art. Again, it was kind of the brand for their 25th anniversary. It was 25th anniversary, and then and then after that happened, for the next few years, they just kind of kept it. They just kept that logo on all their social media for like 3 or 4 years afterwards, and it was super annoying. So like, but I don't know. I don't know. But long story short, I kind of wish they would keep the 2000s look for the social media because it looks so good. Also, I just want Sonic Advance to get the re-release treatment, you know? I understand why it's a bit of an issue because the Advance trilogy in the West, I believe, was published by THQ, and we all know what happened to them. But I think the Japanese versions were either released by Sega or it was by Nintendo. Because some Sonic games do get published by Nintendo. I want to say the Korean version of Sonic Rush Adventure was published by Nintendo. As weird as that sounds. So, like, the Japanese version of Sonic Advance was put on the Wii U eShop. But yet, you know, we didn't get that. Because it's a whole publishing thing. So, like, I want the Advance series to be brought over. You know? I like the Advance trilogy. And I guess you could also add in the Rush games as well to that, because I guess Sonic Rush would be Sonic Advance 4. And then Rush Adventure would be Advance 5. And then Colors DS, you could maybe make a comment about it being Sonic Advance 6, but that's also probably stupid. Like, you get what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying. One. It's just one. Pathetic. Alright. This is a pain to describe when I don't know, like, a proper Church VS stuff. I understand. Neither do I. Neither do I. I just know that a lot of the voice acting in Sonic kind of just sound wrong. The Japanese script is the original with other characters' responses. They didn't change the Japanese script, but it still has the visual changes from the modern port. What the fuck? You're telling me that Japan got the better version of the deal and it's still a bit eh? Oh, good. I'm honestly kind of just... I know it's an overall minor thing. I know, but... God, I hate censorship. Oh, man. Especially half-assed censorship, man. Like, come on. Like, what they've done to Amy and Rouge, and I guess you could say to some extent, Fang, I suppose. It's like, you know, part of that is definitely them trying to unify the names in canon, but then they make the... Fang the Sniper. Oh, we can't use that name. But we'll call him Fang the Hunter instead, because, you know, Fang the Sniper is totally an alias he would use that would keep him disguised, definitely. It's an excuse for censorship at that point. It's part them wanting to do the Robotnik Eggman merging thing that they did with the adventure games, and part censorship, and it pisses me off. And then just everything involving Amy and Rouge, because like Rouge's design is getting freaking nerfed to the point where it's worse than 4Kids. Just straight up, because 4Kids didn't cover the back. How can she move her wings? So stupid. Fuck. Ugh. So freaking stupid, man. So freaking stupid. Honestly, I actually remember, I think it was around the time one of the was an ad for something came out, and everyone was talking about the Rouge design, and there's like one piece of fan art where it's like their interpretation of the SA2 design, looking at their interpretation of the like modern design, and like all of it is just gone. It's just so bad. Because, like, the loss of curves is one thing, but she just straight up lost color in her wings. I never noticed that! She lost some of her color! What the fuck are we doing? The purple wings looked really good. I didn't even realize they were gone until they put them like right next to each other, because I didn't really play much SA2, because I like SA1 more. So, you know, I didn't really think about it too much. Just adds more about... Yeah! Like, look at the SA2 design. She had, like, purple wings, right? And then you look at her normally, and it's kind of gray. Like, her modern design's just kind of gray wings. She had color! And it's gone! They do some of these characters so dirty with their designs. I mean, look at Knuckles. His head shape was great, like back in like the original SA1 Dreamcast model, right? Then you look at his modern design. He's like freaking like a flat head, and his freaking dreadlocks look all stupid. There's like there's no like, I don't know, weight to him. I don't know how to describe it, but like, it's oddly thin, and his head is really flat. And it looks really stupid. Like part of that you can maybe say has something to do with the like advanced designs for the art there and everything, but like that's an art style. they went way too hard on that in my opinion. Knuckles' head looks so stupid. and now people are talking about Sonic's snout with a redesign. Cause like, people talk about because model discourse is a constant thing with the Sonic community. People are bringing attention to the muzzle curve for Sonic. And I've seen people start to describe the current model muzzle as them moving the muzzle forward. And I can actually kind of see it. It does look kind of gross. Because, like, someone did a model edit where they moved the muzzle back. And, like, it just looks better because you get those kind of side angles, right? And it just, like Sonic's cheek kind of like awkwardly sticks out. It's very weird. So like, long story short, we are definitely due for new models, and I hope to God they actually make them look good. Because we've been using roughly the same models since 2005 with Shadow. And just making minor tweaks here and there after that. And it's just been getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And it's just like, what the fuck are we doing? Sonic has just lost all of the aura. And then there's some people like, you can't translate their 2D art into 3D and have it look good. And then not only do the fans do it, but then then once again I bring up the Sonic Adventure 2 statues that were recently announced with basically one-to-one translation of the 2D Sonic Adventure 2 art to 3D statue form, and they look amazing. They look fucking amazing. It's not even like a good. It's not like they only look good at one angle sort of deal. They look great at multiple angles. Like one of the angles for Shadow might look a little bit weird, but that's because he's not even looking at the camera anymore at that point. You move the eyes, he's looking at the camera, and the angle looks great. So come on. Like I know we like to nitpick about things and all that, but like you cannot tell me that the adventure stuff would not work in 3D and would look worse than nowadays. There's no way in hell. Sonic looked so much better back then. I heard one theory going around that they use the in-game model as the basis for some of the art and such in the newer games. Because, like, apparently at one point, like, Sonic's boots, there was, like, a bit of, like wrinkle, like, there were, like, wrinkles or bends at the kind of back of the kind of show, like, I don't know, not really wear and tear, but to show, like, I don't know how to describe it, but, like, you obviously can't show that detail in the gameplay models in, like, DS and such, right? But then they model their new stuff based off of the game models, and, of course, that detail's not going to be there. So, it leaves the Sonic boots looking more like shoes and looking kind of flat by comparison. Little details like that have been kind of just disappearing over the years. And then, don't even get me started on the tweaks they made for Sonic Forces, where they shortened the quills and brightened the color of Sonic's entire body to make him look a little bit more like classic Sonic, and it just looks... It looks really weird. You know? And then there's the whole discussion about the eyelids. Where, like, up until the original release of Sonic Adventure, Sonic had flesh-colored eyelids. And then, I don't remember if it was SA2 generally, or it was Sonic Adventure DX. But somewhere around then, Sonic's design was modified so he'd have blue eyelids. And modern Sonic has had those ever since, while Classic has kept the flesh color. Personally, I think the flesh color looks better on Classic Sonic. I think because the generally... I don't want to say it's the brighter color, because it looks better on Genesis too, and that has more, like... That has more, like, saturated, darker colors than the modern Classic style looks, and that sounds stupid the way I say it. But for modern, it does look kind of weird with the flesh-colored eyelids. The eyelids look better with the blue color in my eyes. There's also the fact that I think the original Dreamcast model for Sonic Adventure had, like, kind of thick eyelashes? I think? And I don't know how to feel about that. Like, I like a lot of the design stuff they did for Sonic Adventure. Again, I was just praising how Knuckles looked there compared to the modern design. But, I don't know, some little bits of the original Sonic model, I think, kind of irked me a bit. The close running happened in Lost World. It was definitely more noticeable with Forces. I think Forces is way more noticeable. But that might just be because it also brightened Sonic's color, too. So like, I don't know. And I think they kept it... I don't think that... They made him a little bit darker in Frontiers again. But I think the quill length is about the same. Maybe it's a little bit longer. It's definitely not as long as, like, Generations. He had long quills in Generations. They keep messing. They keep tweaking the models. Just make a new one, damn it. Just make a new model and whatnot, you know? Because every time they mess with the freaking current model, it looks all funky, I feel. I don't know what they're doing. And don't even get me started on like, the renders. Like, sometimes they can look good, and sometimes you have bent straw. You have bent straw arms. Like, what's going on here? What are they doing? Besides, we live in a world where a bunch of other gaming mascots are getting new models, because Mario got a new model for Mario Wonder and for Mario Kart World. Crash got one for Crash 4, which they're using for, like... which are used for the Crash Team Racing thing, as well as Rumble. They have their own, like, Team Rumble thing. Who else? What would be a good comparison here? It doesn't matter. Either way, Sonic could really use something. Oh yeah, we can bring up Bubsy. We can bring up Bubsy. He looks good. Cause he got a new model because he got a new game somehow. So like, why is Sonic still stuck with the one from 2005, and why are they tweaking it and making it look stupid? Just make a new model. Give all the creative freedom you want with it. Just try to make it look good, not stupid. I know it's really tempting to make it stupid, but don't. It's identical in Launchman Force and Frontiers for quill lengths. Okay. Okay. Bent straw thing is generally using old-ass renders. Really? Because I think the bent... Like, how old... This wasn't one of the renders of, like, the... Or was it the 33rd or 34th anniversary with him waving and, like, waving behind that cake? He had, like, really bad bent arms? Was that an old render they repurposed? Was that a new render for the birthday thing? So that was only a couple years ago. And people bring that one up specifically. I don't know what it's originally sourced from, but it does look really bad. They've been doing a better job with the newer renders. I will give them credit. Like, the Frontiers box art, and the new renders involved for stuff like, I guess Crossroads, I guess would be the only other main thing. Looks really good. And of course we do get new models for stuff like the side games, like Dream Team got a new model clearly for mold purposes. You have Sonic Rumble, which has like these toy aesthetic, so of course new model there, but like, we're talking like mainline console Sonic game, and it's been just them modifying the same base model for the past like 15 years. And it just looks kind of awkward now. Like, people say the best that model ever looked was Unleashed. And, I'm not gonna say they're wrong. It's like Generations, they lengthened the quills and they, like, added, like, a lip texture that kind of, like... I don't know if lip texture is the right word for it, but, like, there's, like, a little, like, brown area near his lips to kind of make it extra clear where his lips are. And then there's the quill shortening that happened in Lost World, apparently. And then the overall just tweaking of color in various Sonic game sense. I don't know. But yeah, it did look pretty good on Unleashed, but, like, nowadays, I think it's time for a good old refresh. And we haven't really been seeing that in terms of, like, mainline console Sonic. It's only been, like, spin-offs and mobile games. We've really been doing that, and a lot of times you're still basing it off that design. So, I don't know. I don't know. I kind of wish they would do a new design for Sonic that kind of harkened back in the Adventure days. Not a straight copy or anything, but like something kind of like that, you know? Maybe it's just me being kind of nostalgic for that sort of era of Sonic. But to be fair, everyone likes the freaking 2000s branding the social media took for the anniversary, and everyone loved the advanced stuff. So, For new renders, I mean like Shadow Gens onwards. Okay. I will say though, I don't know what the fuck they were on when they made the box art for Sonic Shadow Gens, by the way, because like they modified the Sonic Generations renders. I don't want to say it was like an airbrush tool or something, but like they added this awkward shine to the Sonics. And it's there on the title screen too for the collection. It's very, very weird. It's very weird. I don't know what they were doing with that one. 2025 anniversary resemble looks really good. I think I heard people say that one looked good, and then they started complaining about the cake. It's like, we can never be happy. But even then, I think it still is a good time for a full-on model refresh, because, like, still. So that model is old. We could use a little refresh, honestly, because, like, okay, do I need to bring up other gaming mascots and how they've recently had updates? As in, like, the last few years? So, like, would be nice if Sonic kind of got that treatment, too, and not just model modifications to fuck up some colors or censor some of their characters. No, we're talking, like, full-on model refresh to make them look really good. You know? Get rid of the flat head on Knuckles. Knuckles' head, freaking, the silhouette on Knuckles' head looks so stupid. Fix it, please. I don't know. I don't want this to be nothing more than model discourse, but like, I think Sonic could use just a general refresh, honestly. He could use a little something, to be perfectly honest. Especially because, as people keep saying, like, a lot of the style that was there back in the 2000s that they're, that's been brought back for the anniversary, a lot of that's just kind of gone now. It's been gone for a while. I wish they would make a new design that kind of brought some of that back. You know? I kind of miss it. You know? Oh well. I guess we won't know for sure for a while because we're going to have our hands full with Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition, which apparently got some listing on a French website, so we'll be seeing that soon, I guess. I just hope there's like an upgrade pack to it. I don't have to buy the game again, because like sometimes you don't know for sure. Sega could be kind of weird about some of this stuff. I'm not a fan of digital deluxe editions. I think I've made my point on that very clear. So, like, I don't know. Makes no sense because the 25 when they finally actually updated the cake. Huh. Well, I remember seeing something about people complaining about the cake for the anniversary, and I could have sworn it was the new one, but... I thought it was like someone talking about how the cake kind of looked like oddly flat in terms of color, or just doesn't look right. I don't know. But like, we're Sonic fans. We complain about literally everything, even if sometimes it's not really justified. We all have our thoughts about this franchise, and I'm not gonna act like I have the one true way of fixing everything, but even I know that there are some things that do need to be kind of ironed out a little bit. I'm not even gonna say anything as drastic as fire all of the English voice actors and start anew or anything. Because, like, I think they generally do a good job if you give them proper voice direction, and sometimes they just don't. You know? Like, some people actively call for Roger Craig's to be fired because he sounds too old to be Sonic, but, like, Again, that's just a problem with voice direction half the time because he's been Sonic since Free Riders, and he sounded great in Free Riders. He sounded pretty good in Colors, didn't he? Like, I think it's just the fact that everyone was just upset with how he sounded in Frontiers and how we gotta find the last emerald. What the fuck? I don't even know. And part of it comes down to the writing too, and Ian Flynn, you know, he can do good work, but there are points where it can be a little bit iffy. Again, I want to bring up that Bumblecast excerpt that was recently going around where he admitted that he was writing the stories for the voice actors. Like, he was imagining the specific voices when writing the characters, which feels kind of wrong. You'd think you'd be writing the story and writing these characters by focusing more on the characters, not as much on how they sound, right? You want Sonic to sound like Sonic, so you write Sonic as Sonic, not Sonic as Roger. Like, am I missing something here? I don't know. Just a lot of shit needs to be ironed out for Sonic, and it's clear to me they are making some effort. If Frontiers is any regard, they are making some effort. I just feel like they need to take a little bit of like a further step with it, like a bigger step, you know? Like, I don't know, like, just fix the voice direction, iron out the scripts a little bit. New models. That's probably all I need to do. I have heard people talk about the recent Sonic manga, was it Blade of Courage, and how Sonic is just written like how a lot of people envision Sonic to be. But that's like the only thing in this age of everything is canon that's not canon. It actively infuriated everyone, because you're telling me that Sonic Prime, the walking contradiction, is canon, but not this thing where Sonic is the most Sonic he's felt like in years? I don't know. I don't know. I will admit, though, I have seen little excerpts of that manga, and my god, it is something to behold. And I want the full thing so bad. I want the full thing so bad. Now, that's coming from a guy who hasn't really read much manga. Like, I think the only manga I've read ever was a little bit of Fruits Basket in high school, and I didn't even finish it. I graduated before I ever finished it, so... But then I look at the Sonic manga, I look at Blade of Courage, and I know there's a Shadow one. And, that shit's peak. I want it. I want it. To some extent, it does make sense to do with my script writing experience. But to some extent, but like, there's gotta be a balance, right? There's gotta be some balance. I think part of it just stems from Ian Flynn being a writer for the comics. And now he's writing for stuff like the games, and you kind of have to write those a little differently. Like, I remember seeing something fairly recently where someone was talking about Shadow Generations, when Sonic gets the quote-unquote Chaos Emerald from Shadow. He really gets the fake one. But, he talks kind of redundantly. Like, some of what he's saying could just be inferred by actions, and it's kind of a bit clunky. And I can actually really see it. I feel like that kind of writing would work a little bit more with a comic, where things aren't in motion, and you kind of have to fill in some of the gaps yourself because you're looking at still images. But like, you're looking at a video game cutscene. I feel like some of that stuff can be implied just from it being way more visual of a medium. So I don't know. I'm not gonna act like Ian Flynn is some like writer of the gospel or something, like some man who can write no wrong. I don't know. I'm trying to make some sort of joke about how his writing's perfect, but it's clearly not. I will admit his writing's not perfect, but like, you know, some things do need a little bit of ironing out. I will admit, which is just kind of true for the whole franchise, honestly. Just ironing some shit out. I understand Sega's not exactly the best when it comes to fan feedback. We have seen time and time again, that they kind of take the wrong lessons from things. But they tend to overcorrect in certain regards. So, you know, I don't want them to overcorrect per se. You know. I am glad they're at least trying, but not half-assing it. Not necessarily, anyway. To what extent do you describe taking that into account? Because if you're going to say it, I'm going to say that does change how you write things. Something that's okay. I don't have the clip on me, but everyone was talking about it like last week on Twitter, where Ian Flynn said that he wrote the characters with the voice actors, like more so for the like. He's writing for the voice actors, like he envisions the way they sound currently in his head when he writes them, which it's like to an extent is fine, but like I don't know if it was just the way he put it or just everyone over analyzing it or something, but like the way everyone was talking about it made it seem like he was prioritizing that over the characters being the characters. So make of that what you will. I'd have to find the clip again. But if you've been on Twitter for like, if you've seen like Sonic Twitter to any extent within like the past like week or so, you've probably seen something about it. Because it was kind of a mild controversy for the Sonic fan base. Like basically everything. It's completely normal. Maybe it is, but I don't know. I guess we are kind of in an age where a lot of people are complaining that Sonic doesn't sound like Sonic. So when someone who's writing for the games comes along and says they're writing with the current voice actor in mind, they get a bit uppity. I don't know. All I know is that was kind of a controversial take for a little bit. And people have, from what I can tell, people have been able to pinpoint specific differences between how Flynn writes Sonic and how like Sonic is written and stuff like Blade of Courage, the Japanese side as a whole, right? People are talking about the metal virus stuff again, and I'm not just because of them trying to foreshadow out of the story, but more so like Sonic's deliberation back when he was trying to get data for Tails with a little wrist thing. Like Sonic being like actively like scared looking. I don't know. I mean, to some extent, yes, you want the sound right, but like, you also want it to sound like the character, you know? And I feel like the character would take a little bit more priority, right? So I want the character to sound like the character not just because of the person voicing him, but also because of the way they say things. It'd also be nice if we just had Sonic just sound like Sonic throughout the entire franchise, you know? It'd be nice if things just didn't sound wrong when other Sonic VAs say things that other Sonic VAs say, you know? Like, for some reason they're trying to bring back Let's Do It To It from like Sad AM, and I cannot vibe with that with modern Sonic. That was like an entirely different Sonic than the game one, so like I don't know, like there's something about that. It's just being very weird. I just mm. I just something just feels wrong and I can't fully pinpoint what's going on. But something just feels wrong with the way some of this stuff is done. It's not quite vibing. And maybe it's just me being weird and seeing things where there's not things. Typical Sonic fan behavior, overreaction type deal, but sometimes you really can't tell because there are a lot of legitimate problems with Sonic, and a lot of it does kind of seem related, or at the very least they're like connected to some extent, right? It's weird. It's kind of hard to put all my thoughts together and kind of like just like off the cuff, just talking on a freaking Dunsparce stream of all things, but like I don't know. When I've seen unanimous praise for Blade of Courage and not really much for anything else in the franchise in terms of how it's written and how Sonic behaves, maybe that's a sign that something is up, even if we can't quite pinpoint it. Because everything I've seen about that manga has just been praised. So I don't know. I'm not gonna claim to be some expert on the topic. I'm just a guy who plays the games and watches the shows and whatnot. And like, it's far from perfect. It's not even really ideal. I'm glad that there's some effort to try to, you know, rectify things, but, you know, at the very least, it'd be nice to have a little bit more consistency between the Japanese and the Western versions of Sonic. I'm not talking about like the movies and such because that's its own like separate thing. I mean like the games because they're written entirely differently. It feels like it's weird. I don't know how to feel about it. Some of this just feels off. As long as it starts ignoring Sonic more and more, they kind of lump it, kind of jump at shadows. Yeah, to some extent, yeah. But there are just some things that do feel a bit weird, you know. And sometimes they do make good points, like the model thing. We do need a refresh on that. It's been so long. I'm not the type of guy who wants to like fully flush everything out to do a major overhaul and everything's different now, but like a bit more consistency would be nice. A bit more consistency throughout, I guess, the brand, maybe? I don't know. I want these to be more lively and fresh, and also I want them to kind of bring back stuff from earlier on that you're just kind of missing nowadays. I don't feel like they're quite there yet. I don't want to fully like recast everyone either. Because when these characters like when these VAs do a good job, they do a good job. But like if they're given poor direction or sometimes they feel like they only do one take, like of course it's gonna sound wrong, you know? It's just kind of a thing. Do you think the whole taking it into account for an example of maybe? Maybe I'm just paraphrasing it wrong or misremembering somewhat, but I remember that angle being a big thing they were talking about. You'll probably be able to track down the clip yourself. Then we can talk about it next stream, maybe. Alright, in the meantime, let's do some quick nature guesses and evolve these Dudunsparce. I'm gonna say... let's do... I'm gonna go for adamant again. And we'll do... I keep forgetting all of the different natures that Pokemon can have. We'll go adamant and careful. Spirit of lonely and serious. Okay. Dudunsparce the stern. And Dudunsparce the arrogant. I don't think I've gotten a stern Pokemon before. I think this is a new mark for me. Huh. Interesting. For me, I'm still waiting for Ian to get a chance to write a major story where it isn't something like gender, of course. Didn't he write Frontiers? Frontiers was the first one that was a passing journal in Jens' Gens. So, you want Ian Flynn to do like a fully original thing where they don't really talk about past stuff. So like no referential material, like to a minimum maybe. A fully original story. Okay. I mean that could be what we see next. Maybe we can have the whole thing where people complain about Ian. A lot of it stems down to him being like too overly referential. You know? And I feel like it's just kind of just because how the games he writes for are. It's like 2 of them are generations. 2 of them are kind of the point. He could have done a better job with it, but like, I don't know. Let's just evolve these Dudunsparce and be on our way. It's 2.5 hours. Dream Team was an original work and has very little references in it. Was that written by him? I don't remember if he wrote that one or not. If he said major, that's more of a minor thing, I suppose. Because it's a side game that no one talks about because it's an Apple Arcade exclusive. Nyeh. People talk about that one more for the fact that the art style for the intro looks great, and the fact that Rouge sounds awful. That's really about it. Was? Okay. And with that, we are 86 total Dudunsparces. No 3 segment. And I think we're getting kind of close to odds. I'm not exactly sure how odds really works with this, because there's obviously the shiny odds of 1 in 1,024 with the shiny charm and sandwich boost. And then we have the 1 in 100 from Dudunsparce evolving into the 3 segment. But those are rolled completely separately, I think. So I don't think this is realistically a... I guess you could maybe say it's a 1 in 100,000 something or whatever for, like, specifically a shiny 3 segment, but, like, I don't think you can really calculate it the same way when it comes to this, right? I think the 3 segment is predetermined when you get the Dudunsparce. Then no matter how many times you evolve it, it will always be that particular form. But I don't want to say this is like a 1 in 100,000 chance. It's kind of stupid. If that's the case, I'm not going to have enough boxes to carry all of these. So, I don't know. So, really do you think the reputation for references thing is from mainly just so far I haven't written games like Gens and Frontiers besides Dream Team? Possibly. We'll see if he actually properly like beats the overly referential allegations with a new game. Because he'll probably write for the next mainline game. I wouldn't be surprised. Honestly, I kind of want to see him do it. Honestly, in general, I just kind of want to see a new mainline Sonic. I just want to see a new mainline Sonic in general, because the last mainline Sonic, I guess, is Frontiers, and I kind of want something new and such. It could be an open zone, but I want a new game, you know? Not something stuck on Apple Arcade, not a re-release, not a smaller game tied into the re-release. Just like a whole fresh new game. It's like Shadow Generations, it just feels like... I know it's technically the newest mainline game, technically, because it came out after, but it feels different for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's also bundled in with a re-release of Sonic Generations. It feels different. It's kind of like a whole thing with Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, which has a very similar menu art style with the way you actually select your game, which is kind of funny. But whatever. I just hope we see better things from Sonic. And it seems that we're going in the right direction, as we've been persistently going, bit by bit, for the past who knows how long, but, you know, I just want them to stick to it. I want Sonic to be really good. Anyway, that's gonna be it for tonight. Tomorrow, there will be more of this. Because I don't really want to go back to Pac-Man just yet. And even then, I want to leave it to a vote. So, one more night of this, and then I leave it to a vote, and then we'll see. Okay? In the meantime, I'm going to go have some supper. I think the Angry Birds... I don't think it's really... I think it's just called the Red Festival, if anything. But Red was just released in Sonic Racing Crossworlds, and that means a new festival has just started, so I'm going to play that for a while as well. And it's going to be an overall chill time. Part of me wants to actually stream Crossworlds, do some festival on stream tomorrow instead, but, like, I don't know. I feel like it should be its like own dedicated thing, right? I don't know. I'm still not entirely sure how I want to do that, because I did stream Mario Kart in the past, back when the Booster Course Pass was new. I think I streamed when Wave 4 came out? Was that the one with Bird? No. The Bird was early. Right? Hang on. When did... I know I streamed Mario Kart at some point during the Booster Course Pass. That's all I know. It was kind of a one-off thing. I also did a one-off thing with a Splatfest, and I absolutely hated it. Like every other competitive thing ever. It was like the Legends Comp, but earlier and with squids playing paintball. I don't know. I don't even play Splatoon anymore. Like I don't even have fun with the game anymore. I suppose I could maybe go back and finish the story content, I suppose, but like I just yeah. Oh, but it's because you don't play with gyro controls. I don't like waving the controller around when I try to aim. My hands are a bit shaky anyway. So I wouldn't be the greatest at aiming with that anyway. Not to mention the gyro could be a bit finicky regardless. I've had cases of gyro drift when playing Mario Galaxy via 3D All-Stars, so I don't know. Me and the gyro controls don't really get along, but that's besides the point. I'm rambling again. I'm ending stream. I'm good to go. I'll see you tomorrow for more of this. Bye.